Hello guys, welcome to episode 4, and in this video we're going to be looking at the metasploitable machines service on port 23. And we'll look at the Telnet protocol and try and understand how it works. And then what we're going to do is we're also going to look at the attacks available to us and then execute them in our lab environment. But as usual, we're going to go over some key concepts first, because obviously we need to understand a few things. So on the screen over here, I've started off with the RFC, and this is the request for comments for the Telnet protocol. And in here, we've got a description of all the different things that you might want to know about it. Okay. Tells you how the protocol works, what it does. But in short terms, basically, it allows us to do remote management. But it's an obsolete protocol, as the protocol now, it doesn't have any encryption on it. So we use SSH, which was the port from the last video on 22. So what can we do to attack Telnet, and how can we attack it? So as we can see in the picture here, one way to attack it is that if a client and server are in use and a password and username is submitted, it can be seen in plain text, so we can eavesdrop on the connection. Alright, and the advice generally is to go to SSH. The other types of attack is brute forcing, and we're going to be using telnet-brute in this video to do a little bit of brute forcing on the login. And the other attack that we also have available to us is denial of service. Now, this isn't to be mixed up with DDoS, which is a distributed denial of service. This is just a DOS, which is a singular instance of somebody trying to turn a device off. The reason why I want to go over this is just because although DOS tools are quite, how can I say, kind of frowned upon really until they're really needed. DOS tools do have a time and a place and a purpose, but just firing them willy-nilly is never really a good idea on any sort of terms, so being careful with these exploits is definitely a good thing to do. But in certain situations they can be very necessary, and if a competitor had a denial of service attack against you, they could stop you from using your services and you could lose a lot of money. So testing for vulnerabilities like that at quiet times is actually very valuable. So the other thing that we need to understand is that when we do one of the attacks, that we'll be sniffing packets on the network. So there's a couple of things we just need to go through there. One of them is the tool that we're going to use, which is Wireshark. So Wireshark, it's free open source and it's a packet analyzer. And effectively, we're going to be using that program to look for the Telnet protocol being used, and then grab the username and password, and then log in using that. We're also going to have a little surprise later with that, so I'll cover a few little things that we're going to do extra in a minute. So with all that out of the way, let's just sort of get on with the video, and we can come back to this later if we need to. So today, we're going to be using the metasploitable machine, which I have running, I believe. Okay, and which is just here. We'll wake him up. Metasploitable. Okay, and then we're going to also be using ParrotOS today. Again, and we have some files here that we can use to check. Now, what I'm just going to quickly do is do a login on the metasploitable machine. MSF console. Not MSF console, excuse me. MSF admin. Head's in a different place there. So MSF admin, and we're in. So let's just do a quick IF config just to double check, because we want to make sure that we've got the right target here. So 192.168.0.12, and coming over to my Parrot machine, we can see that I've got a bit of a squash logo here, so don't worry about that. I've got some commands that I set up earlier, just for the sake of brevity, and I also have the usernames and passwords from the last video, so if you're not sure about that, please go and check out the last video on SSH. That explains a little bit more about them. If you're new to this video and you just want to sit through, the main thing is that this list has the right username and password in it, that being MSF admin, which is available on the box when you log in from the top, the metasploitable machine. Okay, so let's try some attacks. So First one we're going to do is brute force, and we're going to try two different tools for that. That's MSF console and nmap to do the two. So what we can do is we can just ping the target machine, and then, oops, excuse me, mistakes were made. So we see 64 TTL Linux, that's great. And we can also just do a quick nmap-p and then do /port 23, and we can say 192.168.0.12, and we can see that the Telnet service is open. We could do scripts to see out any version information, but today we're just going to crack on with that. So for the first attack, let's just go to our commands list, open that up, and we see we have a command here we can use, and I'll explain that just a little bit more. Okay. So the way that this command works is that it's nmap, and then it's saying to nmap, hey, on port 23 with the -p flag, what I need you to do. So we can see the copy and pasting of a command here has failed, because that should be -- script, and then telnet brute, which is the module that we're using. And then the script args are basically for arguments for that particular script. And we say that the user DB is user.txt, like the last video. That contains our 11 usernames that we have. And then passdb is basically for passwords that are in the file that's there, and that's got 11 passwords in it as well. And then the machine that we're attacking. So what we can do is we can leave that running, and we can give that a second. Now what we're also going to do is we're just going to open a new terminal, so we're not waiting around, and MSF console, and we can see that that finished very quickly. Now this MSF module is kind of slow, so I do have the results for that, but that's come back before I can even start the other tool and get that all sorted, right? So some tools are faster than others. Okay, so we'll just go back to our command list, and what we're going to do is we could search Telnet scanner, but we want to use the auxiliary scanner telnet login. We can give the R hosts or remote hosts as the machine that we're trying to log into. Okay, we can give the so yeah, again, I've made some mistakes on here, and this is worth noting because actually when you do look at some options, they do seem quite similar. So this user pass file, you'd think that that's what it would be. However, there is different settings in here that you need to be aware of. So one of them is a specific password is just that it's a password. A pass file is the file containing passwords 1 per line, which is exactly the format that we have. But there's also another one as well, which is user pass file. So that's a file containing users and passwords separated by a space. So I guess what I'm looking to say there is that you can pass different types of files of usernames and passwords. You can do usernames and password pairs. You can just pass in a username password. That's it. So let's just get these set very quick. So we're just going to set the, let's have a look, user file to start with, because we can pretty much say we know what that is, and the user file is users.txt. And what we also need to do is just check that we're in the right directory here, so we can see that we're in the right directory. And what we also need to do is just double check and see how to get the username, password. Okay, pass file, and this seems to be the right one for us, pass file. We want to do pass file, so we're just going to set that one first. Set, and then password txt, and then we can just run this module, and you should see how it works, very similar to ones we've seen before. It's just going to go ahead and do different things. Now, we can set multiple threads, which is worth noting. We can increase the count, but because we've already done this today, we're not going to bother with that. What we're going to do is just close this down a little bit. Looking forward to shut that terminal for a minute, which is great. And if we go look in our files, we already have an nmap and the MSF one here, so we can see that it went through quite a few different ones, and then it'll tell you which ones are valid. Okay, so brilliant. So now we've got some of those. What we can do is we can use that to log into Telnet. We'll just double check that. So we'll try the Telnet tool, and we'll say Telnet and then the address of the machine. And then we're just going to check our brute force. Okay, and we log in, so that's great. However, today we're going to do something a bit more special. We're going to find another way, and we're going to do the wireless transmission. So this metasploitable box, for the minute, we'll just remember that it's on 12. And we're going to open a new hacking distro today. And today we're going to be opening Black Arch, so wish me luck. And what we're going to be doing is bringing Parrot down into this box here, because we've seen this plenty enough. And what we're going to do is we're going to sudo Wireshark, okay, and make sure that that's available to capture, because it needs to be as root to capture correctly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go over to our Black Arch distro and use the user root and the password Black Arch. Now, when I first got this distro, I found it quite difficult, and it's a little hard to use at first, I guess, but you can check online for information. Just have to dig through a little bit. It's not quite as widely documented as some other operating systems, but if you do a little bit of digging, you can find things in there. So the first thing is, if we use IP adder, we can see that the device here isn't connected to the network, and this is like a manual state of Black Arch Linux. So what we need to do is we need to do a couple of things. We need to give it an IP address, and we also see that the state is down, which means what we need to do here is IP link and then the device, which is ENP0S3, that one, so ENP0S3, and up. Okay. Have to bear with me a second. So I did actually have a page here before. So what we need to do is, and this is really important, generally as a rule, you can go to the pages here and go to this one, but I just prefer using like Arch IP link. Yeah, this is the one, Arch Wiki, and I believe so. This is how we add devices here, which is good. And I believe it was just a little bit further to the top here. I always lose this every time I do it. There you go. So I found it. So yeah, okay. So we're just going to move this over to where our Parrot would be, just for a second to help us. And then it's IP, and then link, and then set. Might be a good start, eh? And then the interface, which we just did a second ago, which was ENP0S3. There you go. And then what we want to do is we just want to set it as up, okay, because we need to use it. And now what we can do is we can do IP adder, and then we use this statement further down.
Invincible.
Not quite there. There you go. That's the one. So it's IP address or IP adder, add. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do 192.168.0.13/24 for this CEDA notation. And then what we also need to do is we need to do dev and then the interface that we're assigning that to. So what we're going to do is enp0s3, okay, and have a little issue there. Try type IP. Okay, so I've misspelt something. IP address, add, and then obviously we'll say adder. Oh, there we go. There you go, sorry, so one too many R's there for a second. Okay, couldn't see it. And now if we do IP adder, we'll see that we have the address there, which is great. And we can ping the victim machine 192.168.0.12, and we should get a ping from the machine. So that's great. Now, what can we do from here? I'm pinging the other machine, so now I'm just going to do some, I can see a little bit of network activity there. I'm just going to start a capture, and I'm going to go to my Black Arch terminal and use Telnet, and then go 192.168.0.12, and we can see a load of Telnet packets pack up. Okay, so MSF admin, and we log in. And I'm going to stop that there, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow the TCP stream here, and we see that we get the MSF admin a little bit screwed up, but we get the password as well. Okay, a little shout out to Novato, because he reminded me the other day about some of the settings on the boxes. If you're going to do this kind of sniffing, you just need to change the network adapters to your NAT network like we said. And we're just going to put in allow promiscuous mode for VMs, otherwise we can't do that kind of sniffing over the network. I'd advise you just to allow VMs rather than all, because that's all we use in VMs. Alright, well, that's it for this video, guys. Hopefully that's been informative and interesting, and hopefully you've enjoyed that for this one. So, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching, like and subscribe, and cheers again.